here, bringing you guys a new build today. I'm a little shaky in my voice every now and then, so I do apologize in advance, but I'm just thrilled to bring this build to you guys. This is the Numidium build. It is an absolutely fantastic build that we are going to be rocking in the patch of StoneThorn. I was waiting to hold this out in case it was potentially going to get nerfed upon the release of StoneThorn, but that doesn't look to be the case. It's one of the few times I would have ever expected Sorc has become the meta tank. No matter your group composition, an amazing Sorc tank in your group will make a big difference. So let's go ahead and get right into the build. Just so as a preface, this build is not for everyone. This build is a very high skill cap and it takes a lot to learn this build. But you will become insanely powerful for yourself and your group if you can do this. So let's start off with going over our character stats. We put 60 attributes into health, 4 into stamina, just to give a little extra boost as we're going to be expending a little more stamina than we normally do. We are a Nord, of course we're a sorcerer. We are running a tri-stat food. Please use the Bewitched Sugar Skulls, you'll get a little bit more stats and additional health recovery compared to what you're seeing here. It'll definitely help out. Unfortunately, it's just a little harder to get that on PTS. The other thing to look forward to is the fact that we are going to be running the Lord Mundus. We'll have Minor Aegis and Minor Slayer, which may give you a hint to what the gear is. This is a main tank build, of course, but let's get right into the skills. For skills, we're going to be running Ransack on the front bar, which you could also use the other morph if you have an additional source of minor protection. Well, yeah, minor protection that you can get. Or if you don't have like a high LE drain uptime and you're mostly in a mag group when you run this build, then you can switch this morph, no problem. So what it's just going to do is it taunts the enemy and gives them major fracture for 15 seconds and gives you minor protection for 15 seconds. It's a wonderful source just to help us get a little extra mitigation for how much we're given to our team. The next is Deep Slash. Usually most people do Heroic Slash, but people are sleeping on Deep Slash. Deep Slash just does majority of the same thing that Heroic Slash does minus the minor heroism, but it snares your enemies by 40%, 30%, my apologies. And it does an AoE minor mayhem. So for classes that don't have like choking talons to do an AoE minor mayhem, or you're not wearing Thurvican, you can use this morph so that way you'll be able to essentially get minor mayhem and an AoE. The ulti loss isn't too big of a deal for Sorcerer, especially just due to the insanely cheap ultimates we have. The next skill is the bread and butter that makes this build push just above everyone else. Crystal Weapon. The new Stam Sorc spamble they introduced this patch costs 1.8k Stam, and what's nice about it is when we hit an enemy with it within 4 seconds, it debuffs their physical and spell resistance by 1000 for 5 seconds. And after casting it, the next ability we cast within 3 seconds is 10% cheaper. Whether that's our heal, whether that's balance, whichever it may be, it's going to be 10% cheaper. It's a big benefit, especially given our sorcerer's passives. Next, we're running Balance for the major resolve for 30 seconds. It's just a fantastic way of giving ourselves that benefit. Just remember that it does reduce your healing done as well as your damage shield strength by 50% for 4 seconds, which is not that big of a deal for us sorcerers. For other classes, it's a little bit more of a bigger deal because their healing is percentage based for most of them. But for Sorcerer, we hit so hard without that it doesn't really matter. And let me demonstrate. So if we hit Balance right away, then we just press our pet, 14k heal on that tick, 14k again. It doesn't matter, 8k even. At the low end, it's 8k. And that's going to pretty much be the same cost as our pet, roughly. So we're able to just completely bounce that back. And even if we wanted to do Balance and then Dark Deal so we can get our health back, 8k. It's hard to run out of resources when we're using Balance in this manner. We can easily just Dark Deal, Balance, and keep that up. And of course our lovely Crystal Weapon. As you see, it's not too bad even when you're blocking and reducing your mitigation. Due to the Dark Deal Sustain, any additional sustain outside of that, you're going to be able to fully recover that. Of course, you can slide in a heavy attack every now and then or pop your Dark Deal, and it's going to make up for that stam you're going to expend doing so. We also have Barrier slotted on our front bar. We do that so that you have the additional 10% mag recovery that comes from the support skill line. It's also just a really nice skill to have to give each other, well, your team a damage shield as well as a heal over time while you're doing so. Real quick, let's just go ahead and get into the passes that we'll need and what makes Sorcerer Tank so powerful. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and go over the back bar. Might want to do that. So, of course, we have an Inner Rage, a skill we can use to taunt and make it so that way we can just get a ranged taunt. Get our allies, well, enemies targeted, and provide our allies a synergy. We're running a lightning staff on our back bar for the storm, so that way we can get the additional concussion proc rate as well as off balance for our teammates. That will not only help Magicka, it'll help stamina DPS as well. We have Bound to Aegis on our back bar to provide us the minor resolve, as well as 8% more Magicka, and that way we can quickly get the additional block mitigation. It says 40% there, but in actual content, it almost doubles what your block mitigation does. And if you need to get the most of it, you just pop it, quickly swap your bars, block, and it'll do just fine. It carries over to your front bar. So you can just pop that, just like that, you're good to go. And even if you need to, if you get that, not so great situation where you're about to take a hit from Olms and you can't swap quick enough, boom, pop it, it'll cut the damage in half again. In testings I did, it took it from a 29k blocked hit to a 10k hit, like a 10 to 14k hit. So it's extremely powerful just to use like that. And of course we have Dark Deal, which we can use balance to convert our health to Magicka. We can use Dark Deal's amount, which is 2.2k, which is 800 less than what balance actually gives us. And then it turns that to 9.2k health and 3.6k stam instantly with an additional 2,400 over 20 seconds. So that's just going to give you amazing amounts of sustain for over a long period of time. It also gives Minor Prophecy to your team, increasing their crit rates by about 6%. So it's a double down. It's just going to give plenty of benefits. It's actually 6%, I believe, but for the crit rating. But it's just amazing damage increase as well as sustain for you. And of course, we're running our Aggressive Warhorn on our back bar for 30 seconds of 10% increased max Magicka and max Magicka and max stamina, as well as giving you Major Force for an additional 10 seconds, increasing critical damage done by 15%. With our abilities, we also have Restraining Prison, so that way if you want to run an Immobilize, this one also gives you Major Vitality, which makes it really nice, especially in VCR, so you can heal out that Baneful Mark really fast. But when we start getting our passes, we get 6% health, Magicka, and stamina cost reduction from Unholy Knowledge, and it gets better, especially for a tank. Because for tanks, after blocking an attack, our health, Magicka, and or stamina cost of the next ability we use is reduced by an additional 15%. So that can take, for example, that can take our crystal weapon from costing 1.8k and dropping it to almost 1.6k. So it's a major benefit, or even Heroic Slash will drop it down about to 1.8k. Probably 1.9 more so, but nonetheless, you get the point. It's going to cheapen it across the board. Even balance will get cheapened. It will drop that to about 4.4k, a little below that. But it's just an amazing thing that Sorcs have that's extremely underrated. And the amazing thing is, because of the crystal weapon, our new debuff ability, every time we cast it and hit, it's a 5k heal. It's 5k, and that can crit. Like, it's an amazing heal. Like, it's just an additional benefit. We are debuffing and healing at the same time. You can't get better than that. And of course, whenever we cast it, it also gives Minor Prophecy for the team. So it's just, Sorcerer is so powerful next patch. I hope you all give it a shot. It is amazing. The next thing we have is our Daedric Summoning skill line, which of course, we have our little friendly pet who heals us for 35% of our maximum health whenever we cast. Or in this case, it is 16k for 4k mag. And when we get hit, of course, it reduces that by 15%. Gotta keep that in mind. It's very good. We do have the Summon Twilight Remedy if you want to slot a pet instead that can help heal your allies as well. That's a great option for that. Another skill you can fill in is the Empowered Ward. Mainly because it's a damage shield. It's not too strong, but the benefit is it does give your allies and you minor intellect, increasing mag recovery by 10% for 10 seconds. And then, of course, I already gone over Bound Aegis with you guys. And we have Rebate, which is you restore 300 Magicka or Stamina when one of your non-ultimate Daedric summoning abilities ends. So, depending on which ones you want to be using here, it's mainly going to be more so seen through Daedric Curse or Empowered Ward where you'll get that passive, or even for Bound Aegis. So, it's going to be a nice little thing that it's going to just essentially... It's going to, depending on if it's the Stam or Mag cost of the ability, it'll give you that back by 300. It's not a whole lot, but can't complain about a little extra. And then we have our Power Stone, a 15% cost reduction in our ultimate. Woo! Because we needed more reductions. And then, of course, when we have our pet active, and that are actively slotted, we get an additional 20% health and stamina recovery. More the merrier, especially in VCR where health recovery is extremely powerful. And we get 8% more max health for just having the pet active. So we just summon this little fella and it gives us 8% more max health. Like, what more could you want? With our Stormcaller passive, we also get a 10% increase to our Magicka recovery. We also increase our physical and shock damage, which is the only type of damage we really do, by 5% more. And, of course, we increase our damage by 1% for every 10% of the current health remaining. So that's not bad. It's just an additional damage boost early on, and we get 4% more weapon and spell damage just for having our sorcerer ability slotted. When it comes to actual skill lines, you want Ransack as well as Deep Slash. Depending on how you want to go about it, you could go for a defensive posture morphs into defensive stance for 10% more block mitigation and 10% cost reduction. That's not a bad one at all to have. Or you could do the arm morph if you want to get projectile heals, but our healing is already strong enough that I wouldn't really worry about that. In destructive skill line, of course, always great to have Crushing Shock. We want Elemental Blockade so that way we can proc our enchantment on our back bar, which we'll go over those shortly. As well as getting LE Drain if we need it on our back bar, so that way we can give the minor Magicka Steel for our team as well as Major Breach. Just that way we have a way of providing that if we didn't switch off from Ransack. So you always have options. If you're in a dungeon, you could do without Bound Aegis and put that there for them. Or even put a chain pull there for them so you can keep a ranged taunt and a chain pull. I've done that many times. It works just fine. We do want all of our sorcerer passives. Primarily Trifocus, Elemental Force, Ancient Knowledge, and Destruction Expert are great ones to have. Just so you guys can see what those do. Essentially, it just turns our Lightning Staff into an AoE when we're heavy attacking with it. It increases our Concussion, which is the big one here, proc chance by 100%. So that will essentially make it so we can do more off-balance uptime as well as get more Concussion AoE procs, which increase the damage done by 8%. It procs minor vulnerability. And with Lightning Staff equipped, it just increases our AoE damage by 8%. Nothing too big there. And then if we happen to get the final tick on an enemy from our blockade, it gives us 3.6k mag. So that's why we have that there. The main passives you really want for your armor is going to be the medium. We want to have Dexterity, Windwalker, Improved Sneak. We do not want Agility, and we want Athletics. And for heavy armor, we want all of the above. We want every one of these. We want Resolve, Constitution, Juggernaut, Revitalize, and Rapid Mending. But when it comes towards the Fighters Guild, we don't really need anything here, so I wouldn't stress that. Mages Guild, of course, we do want to get balance from this skill line. And on top of that, we'll always want to, might as well get your Persuasive Will. Mage's Adept is great to make sure that the health cost is down. And we want the Everlasting Magic to get a 20% increase on the duration of it. And of course, we want to have Magicka Controller for the additional 2% mag and 2% Magicka recovery for having it slotted. You don't need Might of the Guild, though, so I wouldn't stress about that one because we don't really do a lot of damage ourselves. Like, we can do about 6 to 8k, 10k at times, but we don't do it through light attacks, which is what Might of the Guild gives via giving you the Empower buff. And with our Undaunted, which is the next big thing for us, we want to get Overflowing Altar. Never hurts to run that sometimes for VCR if you're an off tank. Of course, your Inner Rage for your ranged taunt, and Energy Orb so you can provide an additional resource return for your team if you happen to be the only one doing so. And of course, we want to make sure we get the Undaunted Commander, both points there, as well as the Undaunted Mental. Just get extra resources and extra sustain from synergies. When it comes to the support skill line, make sure you get Magicka Aid as well as the Reviving Barrier. And from Assault, we just want to get Aggressive Warhorn from there, and that's all we really need. You could get Rapid Maneuver as well, but those are primarily ones we want. And with Nord, we just want to get all of our passives. Every one of them's great. We get the extra immunity to chilled effects, so it makes it harder for us to be rooted, especially if you happen to be in a PvP situation. Get max health and additional cold resistance to help get extra mitigation against bosses like Locestes. We get Stalwart, which gets 1.5k more stamina, as well as 5 ultimate every 10 seconds, but essentially what that does is it equates to about 0.5 extra ultimate generation a second. Not a big deal, but it does help. And then, of course, the best part about Nord is the 3.9k physical and spell resistance benefit. That is a nice boost. It helps out so much in pretty much any build. And for Alchemy, we want to make sure we get the ×3 on the medicinal use, so our potions last past their cooldown. Alright, so for the gear that we are going to be going over, which is our main setup, this is where the build gets a little more complicated. So we are running a 6-piece Yolnahkrin. And just to show you a 6-piece, it is 6-piece Yolnahkrin, 1 piece is wasted. That's just going to be honest. 1 piece is. There's nothing you can really do about that, though. There's no, in particular, 1 piece, 1 hand that I'm aware of that will give you a bonus. If there is, use it. But I don't believe there is. Unless the new trainee set, you could use that. But if they make it a 1, 2, 3, I can't recall on that part. But the main thing is, we're going to be running Yolnahkrin on our front bar. And with Yolnahkrin, essentially what will be happening here is it's going to be our front bar, so when we taunt an enemy, we give ourselves and our allies, well, up to 11 allies, minor courage for 15 seconds, same duration as our taunt, increasing our weapon and spell damage by 129. Effect can occur every 8 seconds. This is good. The fact that it can occur every 8 seconds fits perfectly with one of our other sets. And our back bar is Alkosh. And the reason why it's on our back bar specifically we will get into. With the rework changes for Alkosh, it now increases the penetration, both physical and spell, based on our damage done. And of course we're using the lightning staff so we can get the extra 2.1k pen there. And I'll have numbers right on the screen here at this point so that way you can visually see how much our minimum penetration benefits for both physical and spell will be, so that we can get an idea of how powerful this build truly is for any composition. The benefit that we have of this is when we are on our back bar, when we're laying down our blockade, we can hit up our synergy, and with how it currently is in its base form, you will give 4,424 physical and spell resistance as a debuff. Like, it'll debuff that much resistance from the enemies in an AoE. Keep in mind, this is based off the initial hit value. So if they are hit by major vulnerability, minor vulnerability, any form of extra damage bonuses that could increase the amount that the enemy is taking, Stone Fist, whichever it may be, literally any of those things that increases the damage an enemy takes will boost that number even higher. You can easily get in the ranges between 5 to 6k physical and spell penetration debuffs. Which I'll only show you the minimum numbers on screen as they will fluctuate, but when it's good, it's good. And of course, it also has a 13k dot over 10 seconds, it's about 1.3k DPS every target, and it sacks. So you can get some insanely good damage if you can get enough synergies flowing through a group. In our monster set, we are running Tremor Scale, a sturdy, heavy, and shoulder. But the benefit of having this is when we taunt an enemy, not only do we have 1 extra k mag, well, stam, my apologies. But when we do so, once every 8 seconds, it will pop out a little tremor scale that will deal 8k damage to all enemies within a 4-meter radius, and reduce all the enemies in that radius's physical resistances by 2,395 for 8 seconds. The same cooldown duration of the fastest we can proc Yolnahkrin. So every 8 seconds, we just throw a taunt out there with our debuffs, so that way we can keep this going. And keep them debuffed, keep them taking more damage, and we're going to be golden. And the final piece of the puzzle outside of the gear, of course, we want to make sure that we have a tri-stat on the helm, the chest, which is also sturdy. We have a health on the shoulder. We have health on the belt, which is also sturdy. It's a belt of Alkosh. So we want to put the Alkosh one piece that is on our body outside the jewelry on our belt. We have well-fitted gloves just for the extra 6% roll dodge and sprint cost reduction. That does help. We have a triune enchantment on our pants for sturdy. Health enchant on our boots with sturdy. We have a triune necklace with magicka recovery, just to get a little extra stats all around and get the additional recovery there. And same thing for the ring of Alkosh. But then for the band of Malacath, we run an infused with a reduced stamina cost. May not seem like a lot, but because we'll be using abilities quite actively, I think this is going to be our best option for managing the new debuff we're going to be providing. And last but not least, guys, we are going to go over our champion points. In the green tree, starting off with the tower, we are running 37 into Warlord, 16 into Sprinter, 21 into Bashing Focus, 64 into Arcanist, 66 into Tumbling, 66 into Shadow Ward. That's going to wrap it up for the Thief side, and then the important one is how we go over to the blue CP. We are running 75 into Blessed, 37 into Elfborn. We had 2 spare points, so we just threw them into Spell Erosion. Then we're running 28 in Shattering Blows. That one may come across weird to some people, but the reason is because when we hit Alkosh, depending on how the situation is with being single target damage, or if it's going to be against an enemy with a damage shield, this is going to increase the initial hit of Alkosh too by 12%. So when we do so, it's going to give additional debuffs at that point, so it makes it even stronger. And of course we're running 21.73 into Master at Arms. I believe that's a little too much actually, so let me adjust that live here with you guys. So that's going to be 61, and we'll actually bump up Shattering Blows to 31. So 31 Shattering Blows, 61 Master at Arms. That'll be even better for you. And we're running 64 into Mighty just to boost up that Alkosh that much more. The reds, and that's going to wrap it up for the Mage. For the Warrior CP allocation, that will depend on the content you're running, but I'll be showing you a general CP allocation. So just for general content, this is going to be great. You want to do 56 into Ironclad, 23 into Spell Shield, 56 into Hardy, 56 into Elemental Defender, 56 into Thick Skinned, and 23 into Heavy Armor Focus. That will wrap up your stats really nice and pretty, so that way you have a good amount of resistances, especially on your back bar. You hit your cap. On your front bar you hit cap. On back bar you're 4k off, but that will hopefully just be remedied through the fact you'll have Bound Aid just to help give you protection there. But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for this build, guys. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in to the Numidium build, and I hope to see you guys using this more out there. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you guys have any questions or just enjoy the content. I really am excited to bring this build to you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.